everybody, Ramey here, and in this video I'm going to talk about button placement. What do you think about when you're creating a web page or an interface for a mobile device and you're like, well, where should I put my buttons and what size should they be? So there are a few things I like to take into consideration. They are placement and then size, especially for a mobile device. So you have to think about, your user as you're starting to plan. And obviously you involve your users in this process so that, you can test it and you want to pilot it a bunch and make sure you're making the best, user experience possible. But what I like to do when I'm, sitting there paper prototyping or sketching out my interfaces and thinking about where are my buttons going to go, what are they going to look like, I think about what are they using to press the button. So like a mobile device, they're going to be using fingers, and on the obviously mouse and keyboard, they're going to be using a mouse, or they could be using if they're using a laptop, they could be using a traction pad, or they could again have a touch screen and be using their fingers. So you got to think about what medium are they using to press this. So what I like to do is I like to look at something called Fitz Law. Fitz Law basically says two things, two main points of it at least, that I like to teach my students when they're learning about interface design. They are size of button matters and then placement of button matters. So looking at the screen, you see a couple buttons. Which button is easiest to press if you were on a mobile device? Look at the size. Imagine having to pick think about your experience, your personal experience when you've been on a mobile app and you try to go to like the regular website and you can't click the link in your browser with your thumb or finger. You click the wrong one. Maybe it's just because that site wasn't designed for a mobile device, but that is bad interface design. That's why like on an app, they usually have nice big buttons that are easy to press where users can move their fingers very easily. The easier it is to find the button, the better the user experience will be, the happier your users and customers will be. So it's about placement and it's about the size. You think about those two things. I don't want to say, always put your buttons in the lower left-hand corner. No, it doesn't work like that. It's about, are these buttons the appropriate size for my user base? Are they in a good place that my users can easily get them? And then finally, once I have that down, can they find these easily? Are buttons next to each other that make sense to be next to each other? Is placement good? So those are the kind of things you think about when you're sketching out your, that prototype for your interface and you're starting to think about where do these things need to be. Thank you.